The level of public support, popular support, belief in the Supreme Court has been going down. Is that a direct response to this? Is it everything's getting politicized? And the public believed in the Supreme Court even after Bush versus Gore, right? So, I mean, that was pretty fundamental, right? I mean, that was like a partisan decision on the back of an election up for grabs. Doesn't get any bigger than that. Why is it taking such a toll now?
So after Citizens United, which made it much harder for Congress to have campaign finance reform, there was a dip. And then the court largely recovered. Then you get to Dobbs, right? The end of Roe versus Wade. Yeah. And I think the message that the court was a political institution, that it had changed its mind about the constitutional right to abortion because there were just more conservative justices and they were going to end Roe, I think that really broke through to people. And I also think you're right, that in the last couple of years, decisions that seem like they are against the Voting Rights Act, on the side of presidential immunity in the context of a challenge from President Trump, those decisions make the court look nakedly political in a way that people can see and kind of smell. And the justices, on the one hand, they've been trying to defend the court as an institution, right? Chief Justice Roberts, other members of the court saying, hey, we don't do politics, we get along. But then there are these other signs. They're very sharp and directly confronting each other in opinions, and sometimes that's been true in their public remarks. So I think there's also a way in which, if you're paying attention to the court, it looks like the institution is fraying on the inside.
What are the indications that we should be looking for that the next time there is a potential constitutional crisis, specifically around transfer of power, that the Supreme Court will or will not be able to stand up as a brake?
I mean, the best argument that the court will do that job is the way it responded to challenges to the 2020 election, right? Trump really tried to get the courts to come in on his side. Basically, virtually unanimously, lower courts in this country said no to those election challenges, and the court—
They threw a lot of them out.
They threw them out. It was a really powerful and very important kind of consensus statement of the judiciary, and the Supreme Court stayed out of it. That's important. And tariffs are important, right? For the reasons we were just talking about, an indication that when you present the court with a ludicrous argument or a fairly weak argument, they're not going to go for it just because Trump is asking. Entirely possible that birthright citizenship, I think likely, is going to have the same kind of outcome because the administration's arguments that Trump, with the stroke of his pen, can end a constitutional right that's been in place since the middle of the 19th century.
It's clear from the Constitution.
Wrong, exactly. Yeah. And so I think that will be also an indication that there are limits. On the other hand, we have these decisions in the political realm, like the one about the Voting Rights Act, that suggest that sometimes the justices are not really moved by these considerations. And so I think it's going to depend a lot on the context, the facts of the case that come before it. If Trump does something that's blatantly, transparently illegal, the justices are going to feel, I think, institutionally, that it's important for them to stop it. But if it's something on the margins, if it's something that maybe they could get away with justifying, I feel less confident.
Now, we have seen over the course of the past months a lot of fairly obviously illegal things that courts are striking down.
Yes.
I mean, a stupid issue, but taking Trump's name and putting it on the Kennedy Center, which, I mean, it's just very clear that there's no ability to do that unless it comes from Congress. Like, it couldn't be clearer. I don't know how.
In the statute.
In the statute, right? And just shot down. And Trump, basically says, I'm taking my toys and I'm running off, right? Shouldn't this have been obvious?
Yes, and I think what we are seeing over and over again from the Trump administration is that they just go forward, right? They wait to be stopped. They do things that are clearly illegal, and maybe there are lawyers saying at some point, like, hey, we're not sure about this. But effectively, the Trump administration waits for the courts to stop it. And I think this is what Trump decided about the Justice Department when he was president the first time. There were lots more people high up in the Justice Department, including at various points both of his attorneys general, who said no. There was a limit. They reached it. They were like, we're not going ahead with this.
But that we don't have anymore.
We don't have that anymore. Completely gone. It's
Right.
just not there. And so I think that's why you see the administration doing things that are clearly illegal. It is just filled with, at this point, I'll just say yes men, because we have a male attorney general.